Hey everybody, Tracy Brown here. Welcome to the official book launch for my latest book, I Still Turn to Prayer. I'm so glad that you have joined me, and I really want to know who's out there. I can see people are on YouTube, I can see they're on LinkedIn, I can see they're on Facebook, but I can't see who you are. So if you are willing, please just drop into the comment section on YouTube or the chat in either of the other platforms where you are viewing from. I am excited to welcome you and to expose you to the book, I Still Turn to Prayer, if you don't already have it. And we'll have some opportunities today to hear about the book, how it came about. And I have no idea, and this is a little scary, a little anxiety providing. I don't know exactly what I'll be sharing with you because I've asked a very special friend to come and have a conversation with me. And I explicitly said, please don't tell me what you're going to ask me. We are just going to have a conversation. So thanks, Kim King, for being here. It is joy to share with you and with Glinda Jones Thompson from Arlington, Texas, and my friend Anita Pickenpaw. Raymond, hey, I'm so glad you're with us, and Sheila Lewis and Lenora Billings Harris. So we've got from the Northwest in Washington all the way to the Southeast in North Carolina. We've got California, we've got Texas, and the Mid-Atlantic states. So I am excited to be sharing with you all this latest publication. Now, some of you know that this book really is kind of like a 10-year anniversary of a previous book. So in 2014, I published a book entitled it, I Turn to Prayer. And it was a collection of poems and prayers, but really the prayerful piece of what does it mean to really be grounded in prayer, and how can we use prayer as a way to power up our consciousness and to manifest things that are important to us. And I really had forgotten that it came out, like, it didn't seem like it had been 10 years, but it was 10 years. So in 2024, realizing that 10 years had passed, the idea of producing a sequel, or not really a sequel, but just volume 2 of a collection of prayers, that idea was there. And literally throughout the last 4 months of the year, it's like, let's make it happen. So the book actually was complete in mid-December, so we can say 2024, but I didn't want to launch it in the middle of the holiday season. So our official launch is today, January 19th, 2025. And so we do want to honor the then 2014 and the now 2025. And the book is available for you to purchase on Amazon. And so let me just remind you or tell you how you can do that before we dive into the rest of our conversation today. And Of course, you can buy the book. It does come in paperback, and it's also ebook or Kindle available. And I'll be giving away some books today in our time together. So let me go back to the comments section. Oh, the very first person to post a hello was Kim King. And so Kim King is the winner. Oh my. And for the first door prize, our winner will be sending Kim King a copy of I Turn to Prayer, a copy of I Still Turn to Prayer, and a copy of the Reveal Joy Journal. So please stay with us. We'll do probably 2 or 3 giveaways as we go through our time together today. So, what are we going to do? What I wanted to make this a little different than just me talking about the book, right? It's a book launch. Of course, I'm going to talk about the book. But really, what's so special about both of these prayer books is that they are grounded in prayer or spiritual mind treatment, affirmative prayer, and what that means, and how you actually can use it in your life. And so I had this brainstorm of an idea that I would ask my friend, the Reverend Rafe Ellis, if he would come and just be in conversation with me about prayer, about the book, I Still Turn to Prayer, and what people might want to know or what stood out for him in the book or in the past book. And so, as I've already said, I did not allow Rafe to tell me what he was going to ask me. I am in this moment realizing that might not have been the best idea because I'm feeling a little nervous in this moment. I didn't expect to feel nervous at all. But honestly, I'm feeling a little nervous because yeah, I have no idea. So, Reverend Ray Ellis is the spiritual leader at Columbia Center for Spiritual Living in Columbia, Maryland. Reverend Ray Ellis is an amazing leader, a spiritually grounded minister and spiritual leader. And Reverend Rafe Ellis, although he is in ministry full time, if I were to talk to you about or share with you all the different careers that he has had, you would also understand why I'm a little concerned. Like, is he going to put on his business hat? Is he going to put on his therapist hat? Is he going to put on his, hey, I grew up in the South hat? What hat is he going to put on? So, welcome, Rafe.
Welcome, love. I'm gonna put on the "I got you" hat because this is about celebrating you and really giving everybody who experiences this live or the recording a new experience of Tracy Brown that maybe they haven't had before.
Mm.
And I love that it's unscripted. Um, and I promise to behave myself,
Aww.
which just proves that prayer does work. So, one of the things that I was really struck by is what I experienced is the evolution of the prayers from the first book to the second book. Um, an example of, and I chuckle when I read these still because I can so completely identify with the space. I am a beneficial presence. Now, this is in the first book. I am a beneficial presence. 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 Really? Yes, absolutely. It's true. Yeah, I have I have known that space. I know that space frequently, and I'm certain that I will know that space again. Where prayer is literally talking myself into what some part of me recognizes as true. And then I go to your new book, and the one that strikes me is I can change. That was one of them, and it's this beautiful, eloquent expansion of, for me, what prayer actually does. And it's on page 45, and I'll let you turn to it because I think hearing it in your voice will be much more powerful than hearing it in your
Well, on page 45, I can change. I had to look to see how long is this prayer. I can change. The more things change, the more they stay the same. The universe operates through the changeless, eternal reality of love. Yet, everything created changes with every breath, every tide, every cycle of life. The changeless and formless truth breathes life into everything it creates and watches it unfold. My life is an unfolding and constantly changing experience grounded in the eternal nature of universal love. The details express, expand, and evolve, but the core of me, my soul, is ever present and eternally consistent. So I refuse to be confused by circumstances. I am not a prisoner to the old ways and false beliefs. I can change. I am not a victim to others' expectations or limitations. I can change. I am not a sinner doomed to be bruised and broken. I can change. I am free to create a life I love. I am a visionary creating a bold future. I am born as an original and eternal blessing. I can change. I am changing right now. I am becoming better and stronger. I am wiser and more joyful. I can change into the best I have always been within. I am here to live. And it is with the deepest gratitude I remember this is true because I am the recipient of the limitless love of the universe. So I relax and trust that my life and all of life is fully provided for. That is spiritual law, and it is working now. Amen. And so it is.
Yeah.
Wow. I can change. I can change. And in the book, every prayer does have like a graphic that goes with it
Hmm.
and highlights a few lines from the prayer. So the highlight is my life is an unfolding and constantly changing experience grounded in the eternal nature of universal love. The details express, expand, and evolve, but the core of me, my soul, is ever present and eternally consistent. I haven't read this in a while. Thank you. I needed to read this today. I,
And what strikes me is so often I hear prayer referred to as a way to change someone else or something else. And your prayers don't do that. And I'm wondering if you would be willing to speak to that for folks that may be less than familiar with metaphysics and science of mind.
yeah, when I am speaking a prayer, writing a prayer, thinking a prayer, because I've been trained in this affirmative prayer process, which I do summarize in the book. And so you will, if you have the book, you can read about spiritual mind treatment and affirmative prayer. It really does train us to claim the core or the eternal truth, the spiritual truth about ourselves or about a situation, and to affirm that truth. Whereas in some other traditions, prayer comes from a place of what is currently happening needs to be fixed, and it'll be fixed externally. And with this form of prayer, it's like the current condition is going to change, but it's going to change because I am calling forth, I am reaching back and pulling forward, or really, I feel often I'm stepping into what is the eternal truth. And I'm just reminding myself that is who I came here to be, or that is the way that God created humanity to work together or nature to work together. That's what the initial creation was. And because that initial creation, by the infinite intelligence that has created all of life, is eternal and always expressing, it means it can express right now. It can express right now. And so I know that. And when I am in prayer, I am simply realigning myself with that truth.
Thank you. So, one of the terms that you use is consciousness, and that prayer is a tool to change our consciousness, and yet we are consciousness in form, which can be confusing for folks. And so I wanted to give you an opportunity to help people understand the difference in the use of the term consciousness.
So the reason this cracks me up so much, why I'm laughing ridiculously, because it's not a funny question. It's a great question. We are having this conversation on a Sunday evening. And this morning, I was leading a Sunday morning Science of Mind class. And the question was put in the chat. Could you please talk about consciousness? So that's why I'm like, okay, what, twice in the same day? Are you kidding me? But and it was framed a little bit differently, and what I said this morning, I think is still what I want to say, something very similar now. So when we talk about consciousness in the spiritual realm, we are talking about the consciousness and the nature of God, the way that God thinks, and or if we pretend that God is processing things like a human does, right? The way that the nature of wisdom actually works, and that we tap into that consciousness because we've been made in the spiritual image and likeness of the divine, and all of its attributes are already in us and are available to us. And so the being in the consciousness of the divinity that exists is what holding consciousness is about. Being in the consciousness, praying from the consciousness. It is, I understand spiritual principle, and because of that, that is where I stand. What makes it confusing and what makes it difficult for many of us human beings is that we live during a time where there has been such a connection with psychology. And in psychology, we hear words like conscious meaning concrete, or subconscious meaning like it's subtle and it's invisible and you don't know it, but it's driving you, and you're not thinking about it. But consciousness from a spiritual perspective is not about how our brain works. It's not about how our brain processes information. That is the psychology part of being able to use the word. Is it a conscious, is it a conscious thought, or is it in your subconscious? So I love that when we are engaged in the practice, the spiritual practice of prayer, that what we are doing is aligning ourselves with the divinity, with the consciousness of the creator of all of life, with the nature of life itself, and claiming it as, I operate in that. I operate in that. I operate as that. And I am operating through the power of that consciousness that is the perfect wisdom, the perfect joy, the perfect beauty, the perfect wholeness. So if we can step aside, or for a moment move the psychological understanding of how our brain works and what we are concretely conscious of or not, and and move into the heart, move into the divinity that is already present, then that is when we are, either we can say we're tapping into consciousness, but I more tend to think of it as I am living in the consciousness of the divine and expecting that to drive my life.
Beautiful. Thank you. So, one of the things that comes up with any prayer, um, and I know you get this as a licensed practitioner in science of mind, I know I get it as a minister in science of mind. This idea that affirmative prayer, um, that you give beautiful, beautiful affirmative prayers in both books, and especially in this new one, assumes the answer is already complete. That there that we're not waiting for an evidence of an answer. And so when people don't necessarily experience the answer that they anticipated, How would you speak to that as one who is anchored in prayer?
You mean when I say a prayer, it doesn't happen just like that? What? Are you kidding me?
And perhaps it does, and
I,
we just don't experience it in the moment.
that, 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 Reverend Rafe Ellis, that I believe the moment I speak or even think the prayer, I am starting a new chain of action. I am placing an order at the restaurant of the divine, and the person taking my order, the entity taking my order says, got it. And they, if we use that metaphor, then they go back in the kitchen, and the chef and the sous chef and whatever, they are pulling all the pieces together to bring that back out to me at my table, that meal. And so it's done. I don't order dinner at a restaurant and wonder if it's going to be delivered. I know that all the ingredients are being put together in the way to deliver what I ordered, and it will be placed in front of me. No doubt, no drama, just demonstration. And so in prayer, a lot of times it does test our faith, but I believe, and sometimes people will hear me say, if I'm doing a prayer verbally, I know this is already complete in the mind of God. It is already complete. And at that moment, I feel it as complete. Whether I can see it, taste it, touch it, hear it with my human senses at that exact moment, I know it is done. And if I don't know it is done, or I don't believe it is done, I'm not done praying. Right? It's not that I want to do a prayer that's 25 minutes long, but it has happened because my brain is still telling me, no, no, or my emotional state is still doubting. When I get to the point where there's no doubt and there's no need for me to create any drama, then I know it's going to demonstrate. And from a human perspective, it's easy to say from that the bigger it is, the longer it might take. That's our human brain, because there's no big and there's no small in the creator of all life. But we do tell ourselves, oh, that's going to take 8 months. Or, oh, that's going to take 3 years. Maybe it'll happen then. And while it's true that there are many elements that may have to come together and it may not happen an hour from now, there are thousands of examples in every one of our lives where we thought or spoke or wrote a desire. You can say a prayer, but a desire. And an hour later, or a day later, or by the end of the week, the evidence was present. So if you or if anyone is thinking my prayers are not answered, I like to remind people to stop thinking about what hasn't manifested in the way you expected it. And even if it's just for one day, write down 5 things where a prayer was answered today. Maybe you didn't say a specific prayer that I want to wake up tomorrow. But if I woke up today, my prayer to have life and to live life has been answered. And so a lot of times that doubt or that feeling that it hasn't happened is all caught up in I'm focusing on what isn't happening rather than having gratitude for what is happening. And I'm forgetting that if God answered any prayer, God answers all prayer.
Indeed. And I love throughout the book you offer us this reframing of prayer to be a spiritual practice rather than a first aid kit or or an AED. That even beyond the first aid kit, it hangs on a wall somewhere, and we don't even reach for it until we need to be jolted back to life. Um, and I want to bring in the Bible here because in First Thessalonians chapter 5, where it talks about, and just for any of the Bible reference folks, starting with verse 16, be joyful always, pray without ceasing, in everything give thanks. Sounds like affirmative prayer to me. Your thoughts?
Definitely affirmative prayer. Although what you said earlier really triggered in my mind the Corey Ten Boom quote: "Do you use or is prayer? Do you use prayer as your steering wheel or your spare tire?" Right? Like, do you only pull it out when something's broken and then you use it to shore yourself up because you need that spare tire to keep going? Or is it the steering wheel that you use to direct your pathway through your life every day? And, you know, obviously, because prayer is so important to me, I intend to use it as my steering wheel so I have fewer situations. I'm not afraid to use it as a spare tire. There have been emergencies, but I really want to be sure that I am using it most of the time as my steering wheel. And I forgot your question.
And so this idea that even goes back to biblical wisdom of to be
Oh,
grateful in all things, to be joyous at all times, no matter what the circumstances are, and to pray without ceasing.
so,
How do you relate that to I still turn to prayer?
so what's really funny is the phrase "pray without ceasing." I've been in so many conversations over the years about that, even from my teenage years. So that always makes me take a breath because I do believe we are always praying without ceasing. We are praying constantly. We are praying when we are complaining. Like if I'm in a conversation with someone and I'm complaining, I'm actually like I'm saying this is an issue or this is a challenge, and I can either get stuck in the challenge or I can turn my attention to replacing that challenge with something that I would rather experience, or refraining from continuing to put myself in a position where I'm going to have this negative experience. And and so what we do every day is we are unceasingly praying, but what are we praying for? So yes, Darlene, I love this. I believe we are walking prayer. We are praying for good, or we are praying for things we don't want. But we are praying even if we do not get down on our knees and put our hands in prayer position and bow our heads. So I think in the book, what happens is, for me, when I'm in prayer formally and intentionally in prayer multiple times a day, almost every day. Sometimes that is because I am just navigating my own life and affirming what I want to experience, or being grateful for what is happening. And then also because other people ask me to be in prayer for them or with them. So it's rare for me not to be praying throughout the day, every day. But I think about it more than just an activity that you stop and do, right? More than just an activity of, now I stop everything and pray. I want people to be praying when they're in the car. I want people to be praying while they're taking a shower. Because if we recognize that prayer is simply a communication with that energy, that infinite intelligence that created you, that all powerful, always present um, truth, then yeah, I want to be in conversation with them the way I'm in conversation with you right now. Right? You created me, that which created me. You love me, and I am grateful for you. And we are co creating this experience called Tracy Brown's experience in the world as a human being. Yeah, let's talk about it. Hey, I'm doing this. Like, what do I need to know? Hey, I've got this launch coming up today. Like, I'm doing 18 other things today. So, hey, I'm counting on you to like carry me through this, right? It's like a conversation. And when I think of it like that, it's easy to pray unceasingly. Easy.
And I think your prayer in the new book, The Faith to Heal, just reading from the graphic from that one, really speaks to everything is a prayer. It's on page 9, where the faith to heal, as I cry tear by tear, frustration is being released to allow for faith. As I sleep breath by breath, pain is being replaced with peace. As I complain, criticism by criticism, I clear the way for gratitude to enter. As I eat, swallow by swallow, weakness is being wholly transformed by food. As I meditate, minute by minute, the pathway to wholeness is becoming stronger. As I affirm my good, thought by thought, my memory of my best self returns and expands. As I pray, word by word, fear and anger are transmuted into deep inner peace. Wow. Hmm.
One of the reasons that I love publishing this book and the previous prayer collection is because a prayer like that, I don't know when I'm going to need it. And to be able to use the book as a resource to, look at the table of contents and go, oh, fear, cage or catalyst. Oh, yeah, I'm feeling right. There's something going on with me. And I can see a prayer title, I choose me, with all that's going on and people sometimes not feeling like they need more self-care, or they're not taking care of themselves. It's like, I choose me. What is that? Right, to have the titles at least, and to be able to go, this is what I need today, is so powerful. And it may surprise some people, but like, I love that you read and you chose the Faith to Heal. Um, all of these prayers in this book were written were written as part of a series, right? Treatment Tuesdays, that I send out a prayer every Tuesday. And so I don't know when I wrote that. I mean, I wrote it in the last 2.5 to 3 years, because that's how long I've been doing Treatment Tuesday. But to hear it or to read it right now is like, ooh, that's good. There's going to be a day I need to go find that prayer. And faith comes up in a lot of prayers. So, because we all are always trying to focus our faith on that which is serving us, instead of putting our faith in the fear about what's going on that we don't like. We're going to stop for a minute. We're going to do a giveaway before we conclude our conversations. So for the second giveaway, we are, of course, including I Still Turn to Prayer, since this is the book we're launching, but it will also include the Mind to Do book, the book that is about responding to race-based hatred and violence, and especially for people who are operating in the world from a spiritual perspective. It really helps us think about that. And then it has an accompanying journal. So I am curious whose birthday is the closest to January 19th. Don't need to know the year, but January 19th is your birthday today. Could this be your birthday present? Who has a birthday close to today? And if you put that in the chat, then February 23rd, I don't know, if no one else comes in closer than that, then it may be Shay. We're going to give you a few seconds to do that. If your birthday is closer to today than February 23rd. Otherwise, Shay, we're going to ask you to put in or send me an email with your shipping address. Send your shipping address, because I don't want you to put that in the chat in this public setting. Okay, no, you beat Myrna, who is the 29th. You're closer. Okay, we're going to call it. We are going to call it and send. Doesn't matter if it's closer backwards or forwards, but we're calling it on Shay for February 23rd. Congratulations. Yes. Faye Lahoma Abdus Salam, my mom's birthday is today. Is she present at this book launch? If she is not present at this book launch, she doesn't get the books. Congratulations, Shay. So we're going to go for about 10 more minutes, about 5 more minutes, or 5 or 6 more minutes with Rafe, and then we'll close out with some other announcements.
So I was struck in the context of you as a poet, you as a practitioner, you as a writer, and you as a prayer, that I'm imagining there was a bit of a dance between what organically surfaces through this practice of prayer and what actually goes to print. And I'm curious how that process is for you and how that evolves you.
So that was a big challenge for me with the first book in 2014. I turned to prayer, and I really could not separate out, because there were so many of the poems I write actually are written in a prayerful state of mind. And so in the first book, I turned to prayer. There there are sections. So there is a section that are poems that really were written as prayers, and then there are affirmative prayers in the form of spiritual mind treatments. And there are some prayers that were treatments written with 140 characters or less, because when at that time there was a limit on how many characters you could have if you were posting a tweet on Twitter, way before it became X. And so I do mix them up. I not mix them up in a confusing way, but I believe if I am in a prayerful state, whatever I write really is a prayer. And there are dozens, if not hundreds, of forms of prayer. And so that also comes into play for me as a practitioner and as someone who is praying for myself and others. Because what is true is that there are times for me to speak or write a prayer that is demanding, this is the truth. And if I'm writing a prayer that's about gratitude, it may have a very different feel to it. So I love that you noticed that, and that you call that out, because 10 and a half years ago, it really felt challenging for me. With this book, it didn't feel as challenging, partially because I knew I was taking the prayers from the Treatment Tuesday series, and 99% of the prayers in Treatment Tuesday are spiritual mind treatments written as affirmative prayers in a 5-step process. There are a few exceptions, and I don't even know if I included any of those exceptions in this book. The next book, which may not be 10 years from now, but if I do another collection of prayers, they might all be poems that are prayers, because I tend to write poetry in my journal a lot. So I don't think I have to be limited to one form.
So I'm guessing possibly not, but I'm going to toss it out here anyway. Do you have a favorite prayer in this new book?
I do not. I do not. I will say that it was really important to me that the first prayer in the book be peace, be still. And it was really important to me that the last poem in the book, let me make sure that it ended up being the last poem, but that the last poem in the book was Say Thank You. And so, peace be still to start, and just say thank you, remembering to say thank you. It felt important to end with that gratitude.
So I want to personally thank you for the prayer Mystical Marriage, because it so beautifully articulates this journey of being fully spiritual and fully human in the same experience. It bridges that brain space that only understands duality. This gives it something else to gnaw on. And so I want to close by reading this one. And it's relatively short. So
And it's on what page?
it is on page 159 and over to 160.
Great.
Um, I recognize the one source of all life, one creator, one. I have been made in the spiritual likeness and image of this one. It becomes me. It lives in, as, and through me. I enter into it, and it enters into me. I am the mystical marriage of human and divine. I am an individualized expression of that which cannot be divided. I am a mystical marriage of the human and divine. When you see me, you see the Father. I am the mystical marriage of human and divine. The soul of God and the soul of humanity are one. I am the mystical marriage of human and divine. This is truly a marriage made in heaven, made of heaven, made through heaven. I have nothing but gratitude for knowing this truth and for the opportunity to live this truth daily. I surrender into the flow of this mystical marriage and accept every blessing it brings. Amen. And so it is.
Wow, wow, wow. Thank you, Reverend Ray, for being with me and for asking great questions and sharing your experience of the book. I hope for people who um, may not be familiar with the first book that they do have from this conversation some inspiration to check out the new book or both books. So I want to remind people how they can find the books. And there'll be a QR code that is included on the screen in just a few seconds. And we also put in the chat the link where you can buy the book if you didn't get to capture that QR code. I really also want to express some gratitude for each of you who took a few minutes out to attend live, and for all the people who will watch the recording. I do want to give one more set of books away, and I was going to do something different. However, since Darlene did put her birthday, and I'm not going to post it on this where everybody on all the platforms can see the year, but December 30th, 19 days or 20 days ago. And so, Darlene, we are going to give you the third bundle. It is a slightly different set of books, but I Still Turn to Prayer, of course, is one of those books. And then Beyond Fear, which is captures an 8-day, I think it was an 8-day process to work through fear, and then the Reclaim Joy Journal. So please join me in again thanking Rafe for hanging out and put in the chat a thank you or a comment. And I really am grateful for you. Please share the book. Please let me know, give me some feedback about any of the prayers that really resonate with you. And because I was launching the book, I thought, the book launch is great. It's a one-day kind of thing. But I really want people to take this concept of turning to prayer into their own lives. I want you to take it into your life. So I've decided that I will show up on the third Sunday of every month, at least through the first 6 months of the year, and we'll still turn to prayer. We'll turn to prayer together. We'll talk about what prayer means. We'll talk about how you can use prayer more effectively in your own life. And we've got a lot of folks here saying thank you, thank you, thank you. And I hope that some of you will even let me know what topics related to prayer that you would like us to talk about. And to kick off that series, then in February, on the third Sunday at 5 p.m. Central Time, I will be here with Reverend Raymond, the good Reverend Dr. Raymond Anderson, at 5 p.m. Central Time next month on the third Sunday. So let's see here if there's anything else. I need to add. Anything else? Okay, I think that's it. Plus, I'm looking at the clock, and as I look at the clock, it is time to go to give you back the rest of your Sunday evening, or if you're watching the recording, to allow you to go to your next thing. So I am going to end the way that I ended the book with the final prayer of say thank you. Saying thank you to Rafe. I'm going to, sorry, Anita, I'm going to get your comment off the screen. But thank you for congratulating me again. I'm going to close with the final prayer from the book, say thank you, and then I will again play the video that has the QR code if you want to scan that, and then hopefully we'll see you again next month on the third Sunday at 5 p.m. Central Time. Say thank you. Breathing in the infinite nature of life itself, I smile. I smile at all that life has created and is creating now. I smile because life has created me. Breathing out all that no longer serves me, I relax. I relax into a body perfectly made and ready to serve. I relax into the perfect and natural flow of humanity and divinity working together as me. I say thank you to the air I am breathing. I say thank you to the sunrise and the sunset. I say thank you to the ocean's tides. I say thank you to the trees and the squirrels. I say thank you to the flower pushing its way through the crack in the concrete. I say thank you to the law of gravity, grounding life in physical place. I say thank you to the mystical, meaningful, powerful of belief. I say thank you to my eyes and my ears, my hands and my feet. I say thank you to my brain and to every other organ in my body. I say thank you to all that God has created, and all is well. I'm grateful to recognize that giving thanks is actually more of a gift to myself than a gift to anyone or anything else. I am grateful to know that God requires no thanks, but by thanking all that God has created, I am recognizing the power and the presence of the one source of all life. So I say thank you and melt into the warm embrace of spirit expressing life. It is well. It is good. And so it is.